Okay, it's 3:05, so I'm gonna get started. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for the grand finale of the Bay Area Science Festival for Catch That Critter. So I'm very excited to introduce you some really awesome guest speakers today. But before we get started, I'm just gonna do a quick land acknowledgement. So we are Save Mount Diablo, which is the organization I work for, and CSU East Bay Concord campus, as well as the Lindsay Wildlife Experience, all reside on Bay Miwok tribe land. And I just want to take a moment to honor this and just to acknowledge that we are on their land. It's important to recognize this. Before we get into our first poll, I just want to introduce myself. So my name is Denise Castro and I work for Save Mount Diablo. I am the education person, so I work with school trips and I also do a lot of like plantings and all that fun stuff outdoors. And then Kathy Cutting is from CSU East Bay Concord campus. And you can see her over there. I don't know. And then I'll introduce the rest of our guest speakers after these polls. So I'm going to launch the first poll. And if you got the chance to do the activity, which I hope you did, if not, you can still look at it. I'll share the Google Drive link and you'll see that worksheet on there. But hopefully you got to see some cool critters. So let me know if you caught any critters.
Ooh. Well, that's good.
Stop the polling and share the results. And wow, it looks like a lot of you caught a good amount of critters. If you didn't catch any, that's okay. A lot of animals are really shy, so you know, keep trying. Okay, I got another poll for you. Lots of exciting polls. Let's see. How do we get to the next one? Okay. So what time of day did you do the activity at? This might impact the amount of critters that you see or what kinds of critters you see. Okay, I'm gonna end the polling and share the results. Wow, a good number in the morning. That's really nice. Get a lot of birds. Yeah, I definitely recommend you try at different times of the day. You might see different animals pop up. Okay. One more poll. I know y'all love this. Polls are fun. What did you?
Oh, sorry.
How did you do your activity?
Can you put it back up, Denise?
Oh, it should be up.
Oh, there it is. Thank you.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. So that's definitely something to consider. Like if you leave your phone out there compared to if you're physically out there, you know, how does that impact what kinds of animals that you see wherever you're at? Things to think about for the future. Okay. So now I'm excited to introduce Carlos de la Rosa, who works for the Lindsay Wildlife Experience, and he's the executive director there, and he has a great presentation to be ready for y'all. So I'll hand it over to Carlos, and I'm going to stop sharing now.
Well, thank you so much, Denise, for the introduction, and Kathy for the invitation. My name is Carlos de la Rosa, and like Denise said, I'm the executive director of the Lindsay Wildlife Experience. Some of you might know the Lindsay with a different name, like the Lindsay Wildlife Museum, and which used to be our name before. And we're here in Walnut Creek, and that's where we have our beautiful building, where we do a lot of programs and have been doing this for many, many years. We actually were established in almost 65 years ago. So the Lindsay Wildlife Experience is a little bit of different things. You know, many of you know us as a museum and as exhibit hall. Others know that we have animals that live in here, animal ambassadors, and you might hear some of them calling in the background as we speak, because we're here in the hall that some of you have visited before. The programs that we do in here are very unique because we have the opportunity to get people up close with some of our animal ambassadors. We have 70 different animals that live here at the Lindsay Museum, or the Lindsay Wildlife Experience. So we're essentially a small zoo as well, that you can actually get the animals and interact with them very close and observe them while they are being handled by the keepers. But there's another way that you might have interacted with us in the past. Many people have found injured animals or orphaned little animals, squirrels, baby squirrels or opossums in their daily lives, and they bring them to Lindsay to be healed. We have a wildlife hospital as well. And this hospital gets many, many animals every year. Over 5,000 patients are treated in this hospital every year. And then these animals are not only treated there for their injuries, but they are also sent to places to be rehabilitated and be able to release them back into the wild after they are healed. So, so the Lindsay is a little bit of all of these things. It's a museum, it's an exhibits hall, it's an education center, it's a zoo, and it's a wildlife hospital. And all of these activities are part of our mission, which is to help develop the good relationship between people and nature, and help us have a positive impact on our wildlife. So the whole issue of the hospital, and it's important to talk a little bit about, because no one likes to see an animal being injured, or to see an animal that is ill and it's helpless. When we receive these animals, we have veterinarians and technicians and volunteers that treat them. But part of the work that we do is to try to find out how did they get injured and where that injury came from, so we could do something about it. And we can then give feedback, give information back to the rescuers, many of which are children and youth that bring in these animals, so they can actually do something positive and avoid injuries like this in the past. So in the Wednesday, if we were here at the Wednesday session, you were introduced to a concept about wildlife corridors, which are the highways that animals use to move from a habitat and a natural area to another. Why do animals move between these areas? It's a very interesting story. So to give you an idea what an animal habitat is, think about your own neighborhood. What is your habitat as a human, as a person? Your habitat is your home and your neighborhood. That's where you live. That's where you have your shelter and where you can sleep, and you're safe in your home, where you have access to things like food and medicines in the supermarkets and pharmacies, and it's the area that you carry your activities. Your school might be nearby in your neighborhood, and you move from one neighborhood to another using roads and highways to navigate. Now think, if you were an animal, your neighborhood is a forest, or is a stream, or is a pond, or is a grassland. And then these homes for these animals, this is their habitats, is like their neighborhoods. And sometimes they have to move from one area to another to find mates, to find different sources of food, and they use these corridors, these wildlife corridors, to move from one protected area like a park to another. So here's where some issues might happen, is when our habitat interacts and meshes with the wild habitats. I'll give you an example. Many of you probably, when you walk around or drive around your neighborhood, you see squirrels crossing the road, moving from one tree, which is part of its habitat, to another tree. And by crossing the road, they're intersecting with our highway, our corridors that we use to navigate. And sometimes those interactions clash. And that's where we see some of these injuries in our wildlife hospital. Animals that get hit by cars. Other animals, other injuries that we see are animals birds in particular, that hit windows. Why would a bird hit a window and get injured by that? And if you look at a window in some buildings or in a house from the perspective of an animal outside, you see that some of these windows are like mirrors. And what they are seeing is the reflection of a tree or a place where they think they can fly into. And then they hit the window and then they get injured. Other types of injuries are because of the things that we do in our normal life. For example, many of us that have pets and have cats let the cats roam outside, and cats are by nature big hunters. They like to chase things, and outdoors they will chase lizards and birds and catch them. And then we get a lot of injuries from dogs and cats, injuries on the animals that we have to treat. And finally, there are things that we do to protect our homes, like we have problems sometimes with mice in our basement or our attic, or in our garage or in our yard, and then we use poisons to get rid of those animals. Well, the poisons, the way they work is that the animal doesn't die right away, but it just wanders off, and sometimes it gets eaten by a predator. There could be a fox, it could be a raptor, like a hawk or an owl. And by eating this animal that has been poisoned, they poison themselves. And we have to then get them into this process of cleaning them up from the poison if they survive. So there are things that we can do to minimize the risk of animals having bad interactions with us. And we're going to share with you some links, because it could be a long conversation for all of us, and you're going to have many questions about this. But we're sharing some links to you, and we'll answer all your questions. The ones that we cannot answer today in this webcast, we will answer via email. So don't worry, any question that you have, we will find the answer for you. Now, I mentioned that we're here at Lindsay, and I want to introduce you to some of our special animal ambassadors that live in here. So I'm going to call in Beth to come in. Beth is one of our animal keepers with one of our resident animal ambassadors, and you're going to get to meet this ambassador up close. So Beth, if you might join us, please. And I'm going to wear my mask because we're going to be close with other people.
There we go. Hello. Hi. So this is Alba. She is a barn owl, and she came to Lindsay Wildlife Experience when she was just a little fledgling, just came out of the nest, because she was found in a building under construction. And of course, she had a shoulder that kept dislocating. That means she couldn't really fly very well, and wouldn't really be very good in the wild. So she's here with us as an animal ambassador. Now, if you're asking yourself, why would a barn owl lay their nest in a house under construction? It's very weird. Well, it ties into why they're called barn owls in the first place. These guys, ever since people started sheltering their animals to make farms, haystacks, and of course, farms themselves, these guys have thought, hey, this is a great place for shelter. I don't have to be in a cave or in a tree. I can sit here and hide from predators. And of course, when you are a farmer and you're feeding all your animals, a lot of other things want to eat that feed too, such as mice and rats. And of course, the barn owl says, well, I'll just move into this place. I can get shelter from the rain. There's plenty of food running around. That sounds pretty good to me, doesn't it? Yeah, does it sound good to you, Alba? Yeah. Speaking of mice and rats, I have a little mouse here for Alba. Get a look at what she might do when she eats. Yeah. Now let's take a look at that white face of hers. And you can see a little bit of white under the wings. Now imagine yourself if you're a farmer and you're going to go checking your animals at night. And you just see a flash of white above your head. Maybe you can shine your light up. And then if you're a screech, pretty spooky, isn't it? Well, these guys are also called the ghosts of the night, just because that white coloring underneath. And because the scary screech sound they have. But these guys are also ghost-like in the wild, because like all owls, Let's see if you can get a close-up look at her wings. Oh, thank you for showing your wings like that. Yeah. Now you might not be able to see it, but the edges of these feathers on her wings have little fringes on them. And that means every time she'll flap her wings, no sound is made. So she truly is a ghost of the night, just like a lot of other owls. And in addition to that, she needs to be quiet in order to hunt anyways. Because look at this face of hers. This face actually has some very special feathers at the front. You enjoying that mouse there? She's gonna take her time trying to figure out what's the best way I can eat this. But she has those very special feathers on the front. And those feathers are actually gonna help pick up sound. The tiniest sound. Something rustling over the leaves or the hay in a barn, scuttling a branch. Those tiny sounds are gonna be picked up by those feathers. And those special feathers are shaped in such a way to funnel sound towards her ears. And yes, she does have ears. They're just hiding on the sides of her face here. So she has a lovely heart-shaped radar dish built right into her head in order to help her detect her prey. Very cool, huh? Now, unfortunately, a lot of farmers back in the day, they would see this ghostly bird in the night and think, that's kind of a scary thing. Maybe it's an evil omen. I should try to get rid of it. So a lot of these guys would be hunted down. And of course, what are you gonna do to take care of all those mice and rats that are in your barn? Well, we'll just use poison. It's easy, it's that way. And of course, Carlos was talking about that earlier, that can be very damaging for wildlife. If a barn owl thinks they're getting an easy meal and they end up ingesting that poison themselves. Yeah, pretty scary, huh? Yeah. So, of course, people these days, of course, they have problems with rats and mice themselves, and they think, well, it'll just be easier to get poison, not realizing that you can actually have your own owl in the backyard to be your own form of pest control. Yeah, in fact, you can build your own nest box to invite a ghost in your backyard. Ooh, that's for the spooky season of October, yeah? So you can actually go to places like nestwatch.org. That is a place run by Cornell University, their laboratory. They have all sorts of specifications that you need for a variety of birds, barn owls being one of them, in order to be able to invite your own form of pest control. And of course, just a very wonderful creature of the night himself. Yeah. What are you staring at, Alba? Oh, he's staring at our next best. Yes. Ooh. You see these lovely dark eyes of hers, yeah. Now, I mentioned that she has that heart-shaped radar. In fact, the heart shape on her face is very unique to barn owls in general. Most of the other members of the owl family, very rounded face. They're still radar dishes, but they're just not that cute little heart shape. Yeah. Now, do we have any questions?
Yeah, we'll have some questions.
Okay.
We're gonna introduce our next animal ambassador that has also his own story. Mandy's going to talk to us. Thank you,
I'll
Beth,
back up
for
over here. Let's
producing
go,
it.
Alba.
She's gonna hang out with us for a little bit so we can answer some of your questions as you come in. But we have another animal ambassador that is a beautiful, beautiful animal, and Mandy's going to talk to us about it. So there you go.
Hello, young scientists. My name is Mandy, and I'm a lead animal keeper here at Lindsay Wildlife. Part of my job at Lindsay Wildlife includes taking care of the animals, which means every day I feed them, I train them, and yes, I scoop a lot of poop. But the other part of my job includes engaging our community and teaching them about some of the amazing native wildlife that we have right here in California. And that includes this beautiful creature right here. This is Apollo, and Apollo is a common king snake. Now, Apollo came to Lindsay Wildlife Experience because unfortunately, somebody took him out of the wild and kept him as a pet. Now, that's not good for him, and it's not necessarily very good for the wild, but that's why he's here at Lindsay, and we take care of him now. Now, as an animal ambassador, Apollo is here to help teach us why snakes are spectacular. So we have a number of beautiful snakes here in California, and they have some really special adaptations that actually help them to keep our ecosystems healthy and thriving. Now, they do that through finding their food, catching their food, and of course, trying to keep from becoming food themselves. So let's start off talking a little bit about how snakes find their food. So snakes can use their excellent eyesight. We'll see if we can get Apollo to turn towards the camera so that you can see his eyes. So there we go. Apollo has excellent eyesight right there. They can also feel vibrations in the ground, but what many of you probably already know, and I bet you might be screaming at your computer screens right now, is that snakes smell in a very special way. So we'll see if Apollo wants to showcase how he smells for us. It might take him a second or two, but you might hear that snakes actually smell with their tongues. There you go. You can see his tongue jet out from his mouth right there. What they're doing is actually tasting the air. So they're pulling in particles or molecules with their tongue, and they're sticking them up into a special sensor in the top of their mouth called a Jacobson's organ. That's what tells them whether or not what they're sensing is something delicious to eat or something to be wary of. So you can see now he's doing a great job showing us that their tongue is also forked. It goes in both directions. And you might notice at home, if you want to take a mirror or look at your own nose, your nostrils both go in both directions as well. And that's so that we can smell as much as possible. And the same goes for snakes. So once they find their food, the question is, oh, I saw somebody make a comment, what are they eating and how do they catch their food? Well, the common king snake is the king of snakes because they eat other snakes. So not only can they eat other snakes, they can even eat venomous snakes, such as the rattlesnake. Now, they'll also occasionally eat some small mammals like mice and rats, and sometimes occasionally lizards if they can find them. Now, catching their food is something special. Snakes usually catch their food and kill their food in one of two ways. They either use venom or they are constrictors. Now, Apollo is not a venomous snake. No king snakes are venomous snakes. Instead, he uses constriction. So once he latches onto his prey, what he's going to do is squeeze them tighter and tighter and tighter, and then swallow them whole. Now, if you're at home and you want to feel the teeth in your mouth, just go ahead and feel them with your tongue. Your teeth should all be pointing down. The interesting thing about Apollo's teeth is that they point backwards in his mouth. So when he bites onto his prey and they go into his mouth, they're stuck inside by those backwards facing teeth so that he can hang on and just completely constrict them. Now, besides eating other snakes and the occasional rodents, king snakes are also sometimes a food source for other animals in our California ecosystem. So the thing that makes them spectacular is how they protect themselves. So you might want to take a minute and look at Apollo's body and just see, I'll give you about 5 seconds, see if you can name something at home that he might use to protect himself, something on his body. So he is actually covered in scales. And those scales act like an armor, protecting him from the tip of his nose to the tip of his tail. Now, those scales are nice and hard, but you may know that they don't grow with him. So every time he wants to get bigger, he actually has to shed his skin. And he sheds his skin from the tip of his nose to the tip of his tail. And once it comes off, it looks a little something like this. So this is great if you're in your backyard and you're wondering, what's that? And you are lucky enough to find a snake shed. You can identify, I wonder where this animal came from. Sometimes the markings will still be on the snake's back, and you can always look at the tail to determine whether or not you have a non-venomous or potentially even a rattlesnake. That would be interesting. Now, when he sheds his skin, he not only sheds it from the tip of his nose to the tip of his tail, but he even sheds the skin off the top of his eyeballs. So right here, you can see those are eye caps from our snake shed. So the skin comes right off the top of his eyeballs. He has what scales covering his eyeballs that act kind of like safety glasses that protect him from anything that might want to eat him. Now he also has this beautiful banding pattern. You might see he's black and cream across his body. Those bands on king snakes actually help to break up their silhouette so that it's harder for animals to see them. If you're ever out hiking in the forest and you see the sun shining through the trees, it makes a light and dark pattern on the forest floor. Now, these snakes utilize that to their advantage, and they camouflage or blend in and hide on the forest floor in order to stay safe. Now, we know that they're spectacular, that's the theme of the day, but they can also be really great friends to encourage to have around in your backyard corridor. Now, Beth already mentioned not to use, and Carlos already mentioned, not using rodenticides or rat poisons, because even though these snakes eat other snakes, they can also eat small mammals like mice and rats. But one other way you can encourage if you want to have a special snake friend in your backyard is to give them places to hide. So these snakes love to hide and stay safe from any predators. So an overturned log or a rock. Also, if you see a snake in your backyard and you're curious about that snake, observe it from a distance. You never really want to go up and touch a wild snake. They're just there doing what they do best, which is to help our ecosystems survive and thrive. And you can watch from a distance and say, gosh, maybe you found a common king snake that you've seen, or another type of snake. We have tons of types of snakes, like Pacific gopher snakes, right here in California. So I'm really glad you all got to meet Apollo. Hopefully you remember the theme of the day, that snakes are spectacular, especially with their adaptations on how they find their food, catch their food, and keep from becoming food themselves. And I'll give the video back to Carlos, just in case I'm sure we have plenty of questions.
Well, thank you, Wendy, for that great explanation. So here's the thing. We live in a patchwork of between natural habitats, which are the neighborhoods of the animals and wildlife, and human habitats, which are our neighborhoods and sea. We can make the passage of animals from one habitat to another as they move around and look for food and look for mates friendly by making a few changes sometimes in how we do our everyday life, what we do in our backyards, and in our neighborhoods as well. Even if you live in an apartment building, so you don't have a backyard or a front yard, you can still make it friendly for wildlife around your neighborhood. And be aware that all of these animals are part of our environment, and they are part of what keeps our environment healthy. And the more we learn about what they need, the better we can manage their lives and support a healthy ecosystem, healthy nature, and a healthy relationship. All of these animals have benefits for us humans as well as for each other. So I hope that you enjoy a little bit meeting some of our animal ambassadors, and I pass it on to Denise for any questions. I'm sure that you have many questions, so I hope that we can answer some of them here right now.
So one of the questions we have is about the barn owl. So how do owls with a white base get the blood off of their faces after eating?
That's a great question.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes the rain helps with that, but they'll also take a lot of time to clean themselves. They may also sun themselves in order to dry everything off and then help things flake off. Also helps keep things clean, because well, when you're eating something, there's lots of bacteria in it, and that helps keep it clean as well. What do you think? Now they'll also rub their beaks on what's called a feeking. So I actually have a perch here, and she'll rub her beak on that branch later when she's all done to clean off her beak, since of course there's no napkins in the wild. What do you think? Good question.
Any other questions?
So far that has been the main question. Does anyone have any questions for our, we have some very knowledgeable people here today.
Yeah. I didn't even tell them.
Any questions about the question?
Well, we're going to, we're sharing some links of some of the things that you could do in your own backyard, like how to build an owl box. That's something that's a great project. It's very simple and very nice to do. How to planting native plants in your backyard is a great, great way to soften our footprint, our impact on wildlife. In my backyard, we have native plants, and they provide nectar for birds and for bees. You can make a bee hotel, which is a little shelter and habitat for native bees that they can shelter there, they can lay their eggs and feed their little larvae, and they are very fun projects to do at home or with your parents or with your friends. By planting native California plants in your yard, you also provide not just nectar for bees and hummingbirds, but you also provide fruit for migratory birds and for butterflies, and plants that are host plants for butterflies. You know, the caterpillars, they will feed on the leaves and on the flowers of the native plants. So it's always a good idea to ask when you go to do some landscaping in your backyard, ask for native plants from this area, from California, and we have many, many beautiful plants. We are in a region that is incredibly rich. It's so rich on species of plants and animals that is considered to be one of the 35 or 36 hot spots, meaning that have the most diverse fauna and flora in the world. And that is California. It's called the California Floristic Province. So we are very, very lucky, very fortunate to live in an area that is so wonderful, so rich, and hopefully soon you'll be able to come back to Lindsay and explore some more of these issues. We're starting to implement programs outdoors. So check our website, lindsaywildlife.org, for opportunities to come and have some interactions, close up and personal interactions with some of our keepers and our educators and our animal ambassadors right here at Lindsay. We're rolling out these programs every week now. So any other questions?
Those have been the main questions. Thank you so much, Carlos. Yeah. So unless we have anything else, do you have anything else to add, Carlos? I can take it over from here.
No, I think that's what it is. Just check on our website for more information about all these projects. Denise will share the links. Come visit us. We're still here. We work every day. Our hospital keeps receiving patients. Our animals take care. We all wear masks so we can stay healthy as well while we're here. And we're working really hard to continue the work that we have done for so many years in here. We miss you terribly. We miss all of the kids running around and interacting with our educators. We hope that soon we can open up our exhibits hall again, maybe in next year. But we are open. We have programs going outside, so check our website. We'd love to see you come back. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you so much.
So much, Carlos. So I'm going to share screen again and just add a few more things.
And thank you to Beth and Mandy for this.
Okay, so I just want to remind everyone about citizen science. This is really important and for scientific advancement. And you know what the great thing about it is that you can be anywhere, you could be any age, doesn't matter what your background is, you don't need to be a genius. All you need really is just a way to take pictures and a way to share them onto sites like iNaturalist. And so I highly recommend iNaturalist. Unfortunately, they don't allow videos at the moment, but you can take a screenshot of your video and upload whatever cool critter that you find. And I really encourage iNaturalist because there have been a lot of success stories due to people uploading pictures of animals. So this frog you see here at the bottom corner, that frog was taken, the picture was taken in Colombia in 2013. And the person who took this picture was like, oh, it's a cool red frog. And they took this picture and they, you know, they're a citizen scientist, so they uploaded it onto iNaturalist. And iNaturalist, a lot of professional scientists continuously look through iNaturalist to see, you know, what people are posting and what's going on with the world. And a scientist, actually a frog expert from Washington, D.C., saw this picture of this frog from Colombia. And they were like, I haven't seen this before. This is very strange. This is a very strange looking frog. And it turns out it's a new species of frog. So you never know. You just never know. You could take a picture of something and be like, oh, this looks like a normal animal that, you know, is, you know, seen anywhere. But it might be a new species. You just never know. So I highly encourage you to join in these efforts to discover these new animals. And just, you know, it's not only for animals either. There are projects for all sorts of things. There are projects for the night sky. There are projects for plants and fungi. So there's a project out there for you. And do we have any more questions? I want to leave room for questions. Do you see any questions? Oh, we do have a question for Carlos. How many animals do you have?
We have right now 72 animal ambassadors, and it's not just birds and snakes. We have spiders, we have turtles, we have actually some domestic animals, some rabbits and guinea pigs and some rats that help people also understand what is the difference between a wild animal and what is a pet, and animals that are appropriate to have as pets and to have as animals. We have tarantulas and other and scorpions. So it's a mini zoo right here in Walnut Creek that you can visit and get to meet some of these animals. We have lizards as well, a couple of aquatic turtles and fish. So it's a menagerie that lives in here. And many of these animals came from other zoos, or like Apollo that you met, the snake, the king snake that was kept as a pet. And now it's just helping tell the stories of this species that are unique to our area and they are so wonderful to have around our neighborhoods. We also have a beehive, a live beehive inside the building. So you can sit when we open the exhibits hall again, you'll be able to sit in front of a beehive, and the bees come from the outside through a little glass tube, and you'll be able to see them do their dances, and you can find the queen moving around and see the little chambers with the honey and the eggs and the pollen. So it's a lot of things, and that's why Lindsay has been so popular with families for so many years, because it's an opportunity to see California wildlife up close and very personal.
So I have some cute videos for everyone. So this is a video that, let's see if I can play it. Let's see if you can tell what's going on. And it's a family of raccoons with a bunch of babies. If the video is coming off choppy on the other end, we are recording the session, so you can go back and see this really cute family raccoons, which I'm going to play again because it's extremely adorable. And this is from Kathy Cutting's wildlife camera trap system. I've been collecting these really cute videos. Okay, that's good enough. And then we have another really cool animal that's very local to our area. And I wonder, can you guys guess what this animal might be? It's a bobcat. Look at that short tail. That's how you can tell a bobcat from a mountain lion. Also, besides the fact that mountain lions are a lot larger, bobcats generally have really short tails, hence their bobcat name. I also want to show this other really cool video. Of a community fountain. This is taken on from ring.com. So that's the that camera program. And you can see these really cool critters that come drink from this community fountain. And just providing necessary things like water out in your garden, in your backyard, or your front yard. All these things attract wildlife, you know, that need these things like water.
And Denise, can I say something about this? For many years and for many people, some of these animals that you're seeing in here, like a coyote or like raccoon have been considered pests or animals that are non-desirable. And that's because we have been, sometimes the things that we do, like the way that we manage our garbage or the way that we manage our yards, have made some of these animals be non-desirable. Just, it takes a little bit of a change in mindset. It's just to enjoy seeing that we have an incredible diversity of animals in this area. And if we learn how to coexist with them, we can actually enjoy images like this and interaction like this that are not really dangerous for the animals or for ourselves. I've been a biologist all my life, and my life always revolved around animals. And it's the interactions and the observations that I've done in the field and in my own backyard are such a source of pleasure and entertainment sometimes. And the more we know about these animals, the better we'll be able to make their lives as enjoyable as ours as well, and we can coexist well. Now, some of you might have questions that come up after we are done with the session. Just know that we will answer every question that you have. There will be a way that you can contact the organizers, Denise, or directly myself. You can find my email on the Lindsay Wildlife Experience website, and we will promise you we'll answer every question that you send to us. We welcome your participation in this.
So I'll be sending out a copy of this recording, and this will also be offered up on the Bay Area Science Festival website. And I'll send out a link to the Google Drive where you'll also find this recording and the worksheet of the activity. If you want to keep it going, I highly encourage you to keep just looking out in your backyard or in your local park and just seeing what kinds of critters you see at different times of day, at different times of the year. You never know what you'll catch. And yeah, and so if you have any questions, please feel free to drop those or send those to me. My contact info is really easy to find, and I'll have Carlos' contact info and Kathy's contact info on that email as well. So, oh, someone was asking, what was that last one in the video? On the ring video? Let's see.
I think the ring video had a bunch of birds that came in as a group to a bath. I'll find out what the species that is. I couldn't recognize it right off the top. We have a couple more questions.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to share what kinds of critters they found, this is also an opportunity to drop those in the chat, or if you have any questions about identifying what critters you found, you can also send those or upload those pictures onto iNaturalist. That's a really great way. You have professional feedback, and it's really user-friendly. So it doesn't matter how old you are or you know, what your background or experience with technology is. Highly encourage it. But yeah, any other questions? Thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope you had a very informational and fun experience with us, and I hope you really just keep an eye out for all these really cool animals and learn how to coexist with them. But
and if you find an injured animal, an injured bird or a lizard or any other animal that is injured, go to our website. There is a hotline that you can call, a number that you can call and ask questions about how best to rescue an animal, where to bring it, and all of that. We take all California native species that are injured, and we have a wonderful staff that will be helpful, and volunteers that are helpful, and the hotline that will guide you what to do if you find injured wildlife.
Kathy, Carlos, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm just delighted to be able to share a little bit what freshwater lobster. It's a very funny comment. I don't think they're lobsters in freshwater. I think they're shrimp, maybe. and some of the shrimp in the freshwaters are quite large. But I enjoy very much sharing a little bit of our life and our species and our work that we do here. Again, come visit us, check our website. We have a lot of ongoing online programs that you can join as well. And many of them are free to join. And we produce a weekly newsletter with information about our ambassadors. So stay in touch, be connected, be part of our community. We love being part of your community as well. And thank you for the invitation to participate in this wonderful event.
Thank you, Carlos.
Yes, thank you so much, Carlos. This was amazing. I really enjoyed that owl. I'm so excited. Okay, well then that's our presentation. Thank you so much, everyone. Definitely keep in touch with us. I will send out that link to the Google Drive. There's a lot more information and links and resources. We're always available here for any questions. Yeah, and we're always happy to answer any questions or, you know, any cool animal pictures that you've taken. So thank you so much.
All right, enjoy the rest of the festival.
For the rest of the festival, yeah. Check out all those awesome events.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Carlos.
Thank you so much, Carlos.